But very excited for this visit for multiple reasons. One, we're just really big fans of Steve Fisher. Steve Fisher, who obviously changed the entire San Diego State program and is just good people, joins us now live on Xtra 1360. Coach, it is wonderful to have you on, and we have to just get a general reaction from you here on what has taken place. I'm hearing so many people in the business say that college basketball will never be the same based on this FBI investigation from earlier this week. What are your thoughts right now?
Well, if you're in the profession like I am, you're saddened to see what's happening. The reality of it is things go on, and you hear of things that go on more so than actually witnessing and being a part of the seedy side of sports. And with the FBI's now coming into play, and what they've done over a 2.5-year period is raw, and it's now for the whole world to see. And it will get worse before it gets better in terms of the number of people that are in the net, so to speak. So it's not healthy, but in the long run, if when it gets fetted out and settled, the game hopefully will be better served for it.
When you say it's going to get worse before it gets better, what do you mean by that? Like, what do you think is going to happen next?
Well, what do you think I mean? When you have people arrested and the potential to do jail time, they're going to want to get away from not have to have that happen. So anything that's asked, they're going to tell. And sometimes they'll say things that aren't asked. They want to know who else is involved. That's the, what people are saying. What program or what coach or what coaches will be implicated next. That's what will happen. I would have to assume, wouldn't you, that pretty soon somebody will say, well, he was doing this, and then that name will get mentioned, and so it'll be a while before this runs its course.
Coach, first of all, how are you enjoying retirement? And second of all, what was your immediate reaction when you learned of this over the last few days? Were you walking from the kitchen to the living room and you're like, I knew that was coming, or wow, this is crazy?
Well, now, there are two topics that I could talk on for forever. You probably want me to talk on the second one, so I'll talk on the first one. I came from Petco Park today. I now have the luxury to do a few more things that I wouldn't be able to do. They had the official christening of the Bob Breitbart Hall of Fame that has moved from Balboa Park, where Comic-Con took over that building, now to Petco Park. And it's a great facility, and Ron Fowler and his team have done a marvelous job there. So I had the privilege to go there, watch Dick Enberg host, and sat with Ted Toner and Claude Gilbert, who was one of the 3 new inductees into the Breitbart Hall of Fame. And as we speak, I'm in the locker room where I've been accustomed to being for 19 years, and I'm looking at the wall that's got a whole wall dedicated to Kawhi Leonard. And before I dialed you up, I was reminiscing over the Kawhi Leonard days and what he's meant to and done for this basketball program. And I did that with a smile on my face. Today's our first official day of practice, as you know. I'm going to go out a little bit later and, without getting in the way, watch a little bit of practice. My son Mark is still coaching, and I'm excited for what the future holds for, selfishly, myself, and a close second, San Diego State basketball. I'm excited on both fronts. So that's the good news.
Yeah, Coach Steve Fisher, we do want to hear some of this stuff, by the way, completely.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, on that front, I mean, you're looking at these San Diego State Aztecs as they start the practice through a very different lens, I would think now. As you said, you're going to just try to stay out of the way. I know you're still very involved. How's that process for you, and what do you think Coach Dutcher has as far as a team this year?
I retired April the 12th, I think, or 13th, somewhere around there, and we now are allowed to have spring workouts and summer workouts on a limited basis. I've taken the role of the interested spectator now. I've watched a number of those workouts, have not said a word. I fist bump or shake hands or hug the players as they come and go, tell all of them, need anything, I'm here for you. How's your mom? And I've said the same thing with the coaches. I've sat in a couple of times on some staff meetings, but most of the time I've been elsewhere. But everybody knows that if they want me, they know where to find me. But there's that delicate line you walk. You don't want to be, intrusive. You don't want to be in the way. But you want to make sure everyone, from players to coaches, know that you're available. So I'm smart enough to know that after 50 years, I will miss the relationships, the close relationships you build over the course of a season. And I'll miss the competition part. I'll miss the preparation. All those things I'm smart enough to know I'll miss. However, this was not we're 19 and whatever we were. That's not why I retired. Angie and I have been talking about, this for several years. And we just collectively felt this is the right moment. We're going to have a good team. I need to be careful on how much I talk up our team, because people will say, well, you're trying to put pressure and you're not there. So I'm smart enough to know players win, and we've got really good players, a nice influx of old and new, and we've got really good coaches. Brian Dutcher and I have been together for a long, long time. He's more than ready to be a head coach. Our staff is made up of really good people who have been here a long time. So I think that we're going to be good. I'm anxious to watch a little bit of practice today, and then more importantly, like all fans, I'm anxious to, when these games start, to see how we'll play.
Steve Fisher, legendary coach, joining us. Mark and Rich Show, Extra 1360. Coach, I imagine maybe you have your eye on the football team too. How has that kind of changed the vibe over on campus these days? Do we still have Coach? All right, let's welcome Coach Fisher back in to the conversation. Coach, glad to have you back. What I had asked you right before you dropped off there was, I imagine you have your eye on the football team as well, and how has what they're doing kind of changed the vibe and the energy on campus these days?
I, with great enthusiasm and energy, have followed what the football program led by Rocky and Long have done. I've been at all the home games, and I watched the road wins on television like every fan. And I made this comment when we played when we played Stanford. It was the first time in my 18 years that I said, this is a home crowd. And it was an atmosphere that you pine for in any sport. And hopefully we'll have that same feel tomorrow against a good Northern Illinois team. But the campus is buzzing in a whole host of ways, led right now by Rocky and the football team.
Steve Fisher joining us, Extra 1360. All right, Coach, kind of getting back to what has happened in college basketball this week. I think a lot of fans look at this in a day and age in 2017 where there is some cynicism out there, and they go, this kind of stuff is happening everywhere. What is your reaction to that thought? It's happening everywhere.
Well, it's not happening everywhere, but it's happening in too many places, obviously. It's not a simple, do this and everything will be fine. With the nature of what we do, at the scale that it's done, whether we like it or not, it's big business. When you get shoe companies that sign universities to $160 million contracts, then you know it's a big business. And as a result of that, people, it's life. When you talk about what will take somebody down, it's sex, it's drugs, and it's money. And, the money part's rearing its ugly head here in our world right now in terms of what people are doing to get what they think is their piece of the pie. And too many people find ways to compromise values and beliefs to say, well, what you just said, well, everybody's doing it, and everybody's not doing it. So I want to get my share, and it's not healthy, obviously. And everybody turns on the TV or gets online and see what's going to be said today about our sport in an unhealthy way right now. And I feel bad. I feel bad that all of us are painted with the same brush and guilty by association and guilty by choice of profession. But it's out there. But it's not everybody. It's a small percentage. But even a small percentage at that scale and scope, it's obviously very, very detrimental to the state of college basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, Coach. Also, of course, want to ask you, one of the men implicated in this, former Aztec player, former coach of yours at an assistant level in Tony Bland. Have you had a chance to talk to him at all? And what is your reaction to that taking place?
When I first heard about what had happened with the FBI, the arrest of, I believe, 4 assistant college coaches and 1 executive for the shoe company, it was shock. It was sadness with Tony, disappointment. I recruited Tony Bland here, transferred from Syracuse. He was very instrumental in helping us start a program. We won our first tournament game with Tony Bland on the court. I brought him back when he finished playing pro ball to get his degree and helped him get his degree and said, we're going to be there for you. When an opportunity came for him, I hired him in 2011. After our 34-3 team, we hired Tony, and for 2 years he was on our staff and then made the transition to University of Southern California. I love him like a son. Feel very bad for what's going on. I want to say I hope that he'll be fine and nothing will come of it. I'm very concerned, though.
Steve Fisher on Xtra 1360. Listen, we know that this is not easy stuff to talk about. Really, really appreciate you joining us on the show today. And, so happy that you sound to be enjoying retirement. We're going to see you out at a bunch of games this year.
That sounds great. I appreciate you having me on. I look forward to seeing you at the football game tomorrow. And I'm very excited about the future of sports at San Diego State, and in particular, our sport, basketball, which is kicking off first practice today. So thank you again.
Bingo. Steve Fisher, thanks so much. All right, great stuff.